Go pick up something.
Did you post the campaign?
The camera is with like a location.
This is Chris.
Right?
Pretty fancy. So proud.
It's all right if we take some souvenirs. Well, I'm always good for a pen.
Oh, okay.
Always good for a card. And
Well, I'd like to check whether you can hear me first of all. Is that okay? Good, that's lovely. Well, I want to welcome you all here today to the Stop Domestic Abuse AGM. It's so wonderful to be actually in the flesh and to see so many people that I haven't seen for such a long time. I really welcome you all here because I know you're all supporters and a lot of you are colleagues, so it's lovely to see you all. I want to make some introductions to you. We are delighted to welcome the Worshipful Mayor of Eastleigh and neighbouring mayors from Fareham, Gosport and Winchester. And it gives us great pleasure to have the presence and support of the Police and Crime Commissioner Donna Jones, and Chairman of the Council of East Hampshire, Councillor Adam Curran. Friends and colleagues, welcome to Stop Domestic Abuse AGM. I'd also like to introduce you to our Board of Trustees. They're sitting in the front here. Would you like to stand up and give a wave, please? We're a bit thin on the band today. I also want to introduce you to our CEO, Claire, directors and service managers. Will you give a wave? There you are. Brilliant. Another welcome, of course, is to all our colleagues here that do such a splendid job. It's absolutely wonderful to see you all here. We do have apologies for absence. We have a list of apologies which will be attached to the minutes. We've had the minutes of the AGM for September 2020. And as the last AGM was held virtually, I will ask delegates that attended to approve the minutes. So Jill, if you would nominate, and Claire to second. Thank you. Now we have an appointment of officers for the board. Officers were appointed at a meeting on Monday the 11th of October. We currently have no chair, as our outgoing chair, Donna Cullimore, has now become the CEO at Andover Crisis and Support Centre. I'd like to thank Donna for her service and wish her all the best in her new role. We will be recruiting to a new chair in due course. Vice Chair Sam Lee, and she was nominated by Claire and Sarah Walker. Treasurer is Sarah Walker, and she was nominated by Margaret Coyle and Jill Butler. And our Secretary was nominated by Julia Monday, was nominated by Claire Godwin and seconded by Jill Butler. The Stop Domestic Abuse accounts for 2020-2021. These have been approved by a full board meeting on the 11th of October, and they were proposed by myself, Wendy Osgood, and seconded by Sarah Walker. A copy of these accounts will be sent on request. The appointment of auditors. This was approved by a full board meeting on the 11th of October. Jones Avens as auditors, proposed by Jill Butler and seconded by Sarah Walker. Now that's the end of the formal AGM, but now becomes the interesting bit. We're going to hear from Claire.
Good afternoon, everybody. Earlier this year, I marked 20 years of working for this extraordinary charity. And in those 20 years, I have been on an incredible journey, but nothing quite as incredible as the last 19 months. Restrictions aimed to stop the spread of the coronavirus contributed to an increase in domestic abuse, with violence and abuse in homes more frequent, more severe and more dangerous than ever. Whilst lockdown does not cause domestic abuse, the measures aggravate pre-existing behaviours in many perpetrators. And the pandemic was used as a tool for abuse, and it increased fear and anxiety. Social distancing and self-isolation is vital to combating the pandemic, but it gives more power to the abuser, and they can use it as a tool for coercive and controlling behaviour. It also shuts down routes to safety and support. Lockdown and isolation shattered support networks, making it far more difficult for victims to get help or to escape. Home was not a safe place for many victims of domestic abuse. On one single day, the 30th of June 2020, Hampshire Police attended 165 domestic abuse incidents. 61% of women living with their abuser during lockdown said that the abuse had worsened, and over a third said their abuser had shown an increase in abusive behaviour towards the children. In the first 7 days of the second lockdown, Stop Domestic Abuse received 5 times as many referrals to Refuge as that week in the previous year, and we had a 27% increase in referrals compared to the 7 days preceding lockdown. However, we continued to operate all of our services. All 17 refuges in Hampshire and Portsmouth remained open through the whole duration of the pandemic and included COVID-19 specific assessments. We moved to deliver group work remotely, and that meant we could include evening groups. The Up to You programme was adapted to be delivered remotely. We ran a virtual drop-in, and our advice line hours were extended. All of this was only achievable due to the commitment of our staff, who worked amazingly during this period, the leadership of our trustees, and the enthusiasm of our supporters, all of whom have a shared vision of a world without domestic abuse. We were able to secure significant additional funding during the pandemic from a number of organisations. We actually secured in excess of over £800,000, which meant that we were able to deliver additional vital services and support some of our partner organisations. And we were very grateful for this support. One of our most amazing achievements during the pandemic was the launch of a COVID-19 5-bed refuge in Portsmouth. This project was happened due to our partnership with the Housing Department of Portsmouth City Council. And I haven't spoken to her yet, but I saw her when she arrived. It was down to the great partnership working with Alison Smart, and we're really grateful to her. And a real added benefit is that we've actually signed a lease to extend this refuge, and we're going to be delivering it for another 5 years outside of our commissioned contract.
Refuge is more than just a roof over your head. It is a safe and supportive space for women and their children to heal from the trauma of the abuse they have experienced. Refuges provide a welcoming environment and individual support to help recover from abuse, address legal and financial issues, improve self-esteem, and plan for the future. This is one of our refuges that houses up to 5 women and up to 12 children. We have communal living spaces where the women and children can socialise and seek support. There is plenty of space for the children to play and watch films. The kitchen is normally a hub of activity, with families cooking and eating their meals. In this refuge, families share fridges. that have their own cupboards to store food and essentials. Women take on responsibility to clean the house and each have a daily cleaning task. This is to make sure the house is a clean and homely place to be. We have staff on site every day who support families with moving on from the abuse they have suffered. We also have a play worker who can also spend time with the children. Each family has their own bedroom, which they can call their own. Each person has their own key to their room, so this can be a family's private space. Bathrooms are shared, but we have 3 in this refuge, allowing for all families to have access throughout the day and night.
Stop Domestic Abuse originated in 1977, and it was set up by a group of local women to support women and children affected by domestic abuse in Havant. We now cover a much larger area, and we also work with women, children, young people and men. And we want to, and we will continue to deliver inclusive services, including working with those who perpetrate abuse. But we cannot ignore that male violence against women is a complex and significant problem. The events of this last year have demonstrated this. Between Sarah Everard's murder in March and Sabina's Nessa's in September, 77 women have been killed where a man has been the principal suspect. At least 110 UK women have been killed by men so far in 2021. And on average, a woman in the UK is killed by a man every 3 days. In the first week of lockdown, 10 women and 2 children were killed by men. That is not a woman being killed every 3 days, that is a woman being killed every 16.8 hours. The femicide census tells us that of 62% of all women that are murdered by men, it is by their current or former partner, and that at least 34% of women killed have children under 18 years old, and that a history of abuse is known in about 59% of those cases. There has been more awareness of violence against women and girls over recent months. However, awareness in itself is not enough. There needs to be a massive shift in the seriousness with which all forms of violence against women and girls are responded to. This is a list of just some of the women that have died this year as a consequence of domestic abuse. The most recent being Trina Rainey, who was burned to death. Her husband, Thomas Rainey, has been arrested for her murder, and this only happened last week.
Hello, my name is Jo Baker and I am the Service Manager here at Stop Domestic Abuse for the West of Hampshire.
Hi, I'm Paige Merritt and I'm Service Manager for East Hampshire. We've been tasked with embedding feminist practices within our organisation, enhancing what we already do. We've begun doing this by asking staff what feminism means to them, collating their feedback, because we want all of our staff, male and female, to be on this journey with us and to actively have their voices heard.
To do this, we have created a Violence Against Women and Girls Hour. This is a monthly meeting where staff can come together to share ideas and discuss current affairs that may be affecting them. Included within this, we've invited prominent feminist guest speakers along to share their knowledge and skills, and we look forward to taking this forward with the staff in the future. We are consulting and listening to staff so that they are a significant part of creating the way forward together as an organisation and ensuring that the Vaughan perspective is present in all of our conversations.
As managers, we are challenging our own leadership to ensure inclusivity and to foster diversity. We have also made the following pledges. Be more bold and assertive. Continue to share knowledge and our passion around the work that we do with our partners and our colleagues. Continuing to improve our leadership skills and to ensure that Vaughan is at the forefront of all of our conversations.
We encourage you to make your own pledge to end violence against women and girls. Thank you.
We encourage you to make your own pledge to end violence against women and girls. Thank you.
So the AGM is not just about reflection, but it's also about celebration. And I want to talk about some of the great achievements that the staff team have managed despite the pandemic. Working with our colleagues at Hampshire Constabulary, we have worked on 2 Safe at Home projects, one which also involved Hampshire libraries. And we ran pilot projects in Gosport and Chandler's libraries, which is now going to be rolled out across the whole of Hampshire. And in the libraries, staff have not only been trained, but they've got in many more books around domestic abuse, and they're promoting our services. So there's bookmarks with discrete logos on it. Every computer is going to have a mouse pad that's got our phone number on it, and books that are around domestic abuse are going to have a very discreet stamp that Hampshire Libraries are going to put in that has a contact telephone number. So far, 25 library staff have been trained, and a further 52 have signed up to complete this. Our other project with Hampshire Constabulary is about building confidence with communities to recognise, discuss and signpost domestic abuse. And we've been delivering awareness building sessions within the beauty industry across the whole of Hampshire, Portsmouth and the Isle of Wight. 4 cycles of this has been completed, with 69 salons having trained Safe at Home ambassadors, and a 6 further cycles will be delivered between now and March. We now cover the whole of Hampshire, the 11 districts and Portsmouth. And we deliver the commissioned services which are commissioned by Portsmouth City Council, Hampshire County Council and the Police Crime Commissioner. And we subcontract our services in Test Valley to our partner Andover Crisis Support Centre. One of our achievements this year was to secure the new Portsmouth contract, and for the first time we are now the commissioned provider of perpetrator services within Portsmouth.
Did you know that Stop Domestic Abuse supports people using abusive behaviours as well as victims, survivors and children?
Yes, I did know that.
How does that work then?
So we're committed to supporting all of those impacted by domestic abuse in order to break the cycle of domestic abuse. And our perpetrator services work with people individually, and we directly address their use of abusive behaviours. And we do that in order to create healthy relationships and prevent re-victimisation.
How do you do that then?
A variety of things, really. So we'll work with them and we'll challenge stereotypes, and we'll challenge any negative thoughts, feelings and behaviours that they're showing. We challenge any justifications that they're using, and also any attitudes that support abusive behaviours. We also make sure that they can manage their emotions more effectively, so then they're better equipped to deal with conflict. And did you know as well that we also support victims and survivors alongside of this?
No. What does that entail?
So we can work with people via video call, telephone or face-to-face, and we make sure that they are as safe as possible throughout. We can also make them aware of any terminology from the programme so that they're familiar with the concepts, and then we can keep them up to date as well around their partner's progress and any changes in behaviours that they might see, just so it doesn't come as a shock to them.
Wow, that makes sense. That sounds amazing.
I know, right? It does, doesn't it? Do you want to hear some feedback?
Yes, please.
The partner support service has really helped me over the last year. They've really helped me process everything, and by doing so, helped me re-clarify my boundaries and build my confidence. My ex-partner went on the Up To You programme and has learned better behaviour skills in relation to him being a better father to our son. It can be really challenging processing the abuse you suffered, when often you're the only witness, and after 15 years, I'd been gaslighted so much, I'd almost become blind to it. But once I really admitted what was happening and gained support, he lost so much power over me. He can't manipulate me like he used to. Even when he tries to tell his story, glossing over everything to others, I'm now strong enough in my conviction of reality that I can rise above it. I have gained the strength again of knowing myself, and in doing so, I've sieved out my entire relationship until I'm left with only the gems, and that is a great feeling. Knowing those in your life truly see you and love you for who you are, I've decided to move areas and start my life with my beautiful boy, nearer my family and support for us. I used to joke with my facilitator about how I once tried to have a magic wand to put everything right. And by that I meant extradite the monster from the man I loved so we could be together. But what in fact happened, I was extradited from the monster so I can walk free regardless of whether he decided to or not, and my son was extradited too. I didn't need my ex to become a hero, all I needed was to believe in my own power again and to be the heroine of my story. My boy now has a much better father as his dad can be that man in smaller doses. This has helped my son tremendously as he now says he has one daddy again. I'm now becoming the woman I was always supposed to be, and while I'm still in the labour phase of birthing my new life, I feel my strength, beauty and conviction in what I'm about to create.
One of the things we do is try to get our message out to a wider audience. So we work really hard to engage with television, radio and the print press. Here are some examples, but I really want to highlight the glorious photo in the middle of Sally and Rachel, who was so instrumental in getting the COVID refuge up and running so quickly. And also Chelsea in the red coat, who worked on an amazing programme with the Meridian News about adolescent to parent abuse. And great thanks to her in doing such a fantastic PR job on a very misunderstood and undiscussed story. We also work to engage with our communities, and often that's fixed around an international national event, such as White Ribbon, 16 Days of Action, International Women's Day, International Day of Zero Tolerance for SGM, International Men's Day. But we also attend other events, such as working in events in hospitals or fresh affairs or in supermarkets, just to promote and to talk about things more. In 2016, we launched a campaign to raise £1 million to build our own refuge for women and children. This was to secure the future of domestic abuse services. At that point, 17% of refuges in the country had been closed. We want to provide trauma-informed accommodations fit for purpose and for the needs of all women and children. The development of the project and an increase in raw material costs has meant that we've had to increase our target to 1.8 million. But the global pandemic has demonstrated how crucial safe specialist refuges are. And I'm absolutely thrilled to tell you that we've raised an incredible 1.25 million. We still need to carry on fundraising, but we are working with our partners at Bournemouth Churches Housing Association, Bournemouth City Council and Marlow Architects to realise our dream, and I do hope that we'll have more information for you in the forthcoming year. We still rely desperately on fundraising and donations. They're incredibly important to the organisation. It adds value to our refugees, it adds value to clients' experiences, their quality of life, and it provides for bare necessities in a crisis.
Hi, my name is Stacey Scott and I am a Child and Young Person Outreach Support Worker. We have recently been donated some funds to renovate our summer house at one of our refuges. It has been beautifully decorated that the women and children currently living in refuge just love, as it promotes a sense of calm and peace that allows the children a safe place that is finally theirs away from the refuge. We are all really pleased with the results and outcome of the summer house, that we now have a dedicated space for the children to allow them to have play sessions, and gives us the opportunity to have valued one-to-one support sessions in a confidential and child-friendly setting. It also gives us a space that we can run group work in. I recently had the pleasure of running a Safe Affairs group work at the summer house, and the children that attended really thrived and engaged in the sessions as there were no distractions. They felt safe and comfortable, and they especially enjoyed sitting on the lovely beanbags. Some of our current clients that are living in refuge commented on the summer house, saying that it is a fantastic area for the children that allows them to be themselves worry-free, and that they love that now the children can go to the summer house and play with all the toys, and they especially love doing Play-Doh out there, as it no longer goes onto the living room floor.
So So what does the future hold? We will continue to develop new projects. We will continue to work in partnership with others. We will continue to diversify our sources of funding, and we will continue to apply for trusts and grants. We will continue to be an innovative and unique provider of all services to those affected by domestic abuse. And together with our volunteers and trustees, our staff make a real difference to the lives of those affected by domestic abuse. I am very proud of the Stop Domestic Abuse team and their achievements. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions? Hello? There is someone with a microphone, but I don't think they're going to move that fast. In the front row.
Adam Carew, Chairman of East Hampshire. It is absolutely clear, and particularly sadly in the last month or so, that women are primarily the targets of domestic abuse. That is undeniable. And that's obviously where the bulk of any work needs to go. Yet, I'm also concerned about older abuse. I'm concerned about bullying of children, both within relationships and also at school. And I'm also concerned that there are also men who are on the receiving end of domestic abuse. That is something that generally isn't spoken about because men don't find it easy to talk about. I'm wondering what your organisation is going to do about those other forms of abuse. I do fully appreciate that you have to target the people who are most adversely affected, and particularly when it leads to things like murder. But I just wondered what support is there out there for the other forms of domestic abuse? Thank you.
Thank you. We do actually work with all those groups that you've mentioned, and hopefully you'll be able to walk around and look at the boards and see some of the innovative and exciting work that we're doing. Children have always been very central to the heart of Stop Domestic Abuse. Havant Women's Aid was the first refuge in Hampshire to ever have specialist child workers working in refuge. We are different from some other providers insofar as that we make work with children part of our core service, both in refuge and in the community. I won't deny we do have a problem with older victims of domestic abuse. None of the refuges in Hampshire are really fit for older people to stay in. We only have one disabled unit, specially adapted disabled unit. We do have older victims who come to refuge, and when we build our new refuge, we intend to build a property that is accessible to anybody regardless of their mobility or disability issues. In the community, we do work with organisations that work with older people, and we have worked with victims of domestic abuse in their 80s and 90s. So please do feel rest assured that that is a priority. Where we do have an issue is if the carer is the perpetrator and they're reliant on the carer, whether that's a partner or another family member, to have their access to the outside world. And we have had experience where it's been very difficult to engage. In those cases, we work with other agencies such as health to try and get in and provide that support. And finally, men. As I said earlier, we provide inclusive services. We've been working with men since 2010. It is a smaller cohort. We do not provide refuge accommodation to men. All the refuges in Hampshire are women's refuges. It is unlikely that there is a need for a men's refuge, but there is no doubt that men do need support who experience domestic abuse, and the group that we are unable to provide the level of support we would like to is men with children. because that is a very difficult cohort to accommodate. So single men can often resolve their own accommodation problems, but a man with children may need to go to a local authority for support. If the local authority houses him, we would provide support to him while he's living in their temporary accommodation. Any other questions?
Hi, good morning. Thank you very much for what you've shown this morning. But as a local councillor, I've been a councillor since 2008. I do feel maybe if it's possible we should come to local authorities more and give us as councillors training. Because, you know, we are public facing ourselves and maybe there's things that we can spot. But I wouldn't know where to go to help somebody else. So maybe we need a bit more training ourselves.
We'd be delighted. So we have a training manager, but we actually also have a lot of staff who are very skilled at delivering training. And we do engage with statutory and voluntary organisations and deliver training to frontline workers, to managers, and we would be more than happy to deliver it to members of the local authority. So please do get in touch and we'd be very happy to come and do that. Any other questions? Well, if not, I'd like to say thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure to see so many people, to meet some new friends, and to see some old friends again. And I would like to invite you to join us for lunch. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.